Under the shimmering lights of Kuala Lumpur, a storm was brewing. A storm not of weather, but of destiny. As Manny Pacquiao marched toward the ring, the noise of the entire stadium merged into a single, thunderous heartbeat. Every eye locked onto him. Every camera followed his movement. And yet, Pacquiao walked like a man alone. A legend returning not for money, not for pride, but for something far more dangerous: revival. For years, critics said his time was over. That age had finally tightened its grip, that he was stepping into a war he no longer had the weapons to survive. But Pacquiao's eyes, they told a different story. They burned with something the world hadn't seen in years: hunger. Across the ring stood Matthysse, the machine, a fighter forged in the fires of Argentinian grit, a man whose punches had ended nights suddenly, violently, without warning. His stare was cold, mechanical, emotionless. He didn't care about legacies. He didn't care about history. All he saw, was a man he planned to destroy. As the referee summoned them to center ring, the tension felt like two worlds being pulled together under unbearable force. Sweat glistened, gloves tightened, breaths slowed. The crowd grew silent, so silent it felt as though the arena itself was holding its breath. Protect yourselves at all times. The final words before chaos. The bell rang. Pacquiao sprang forward with a speed that defied everything the audience believed about him. He wasn't just fast, he was electric. His fists darted through the air like sparks from broken wires. Matthysse, heavy and unshakable, responded with thunder, each punch thrown with the intent of shattering bone. Their first exchange cracked like lightning. Pacquiao danced around danger, slipping just inches from Matthyse's hammer-like blows. Matthysse, patient and brutal, tracked him like a hunter following blood in the water. The suspense tightened with every second. Pacquiao unleashed combinetta. In rapid-fire bursts, blurs of motion the human eye could hardly follow. Matthysse retaliated with savage counters, his punches thudding like explosions on Pacquiao's guard. Every heartbeat in the arena seemed to freeze with each punch thrown, and as the round ended, something chilling became clear. Both men understood that this would not be a fight. It would be a war. The storm had only just begun. The bell for round 2 echoed across the arena like the opening note of a funeral drum. Pacquiao moved first, circling, probing, testing. Matthysse followed, shoulders rolling, eyes unblinking. The machine had awakened, and now every step he took felt like a threat. Matthysse launched a brutal right hand, one powerful enough to end any man's night. Pacquiao barely slipped it, the punch grazing past his ear like a missile. The audience gasped. Matthysse wasn't guessing anymore. He was timing Pacquiao, calculating him, breaking down the rhythm that had confused fighters for years. Pacquiao fired a 3-punch combination, left, right, left, and Matthysse took them with a grin. Not hurt, not shaken, just warmed up. And then he returned fire with a monstrous jab that sent Pacquiao stumbling backward. This was the moment many feared. The moment when age, size, and power collided against Pacquiao's speed. Matthysse marched forward, each punch heavier than the last. His gloves crashed against Pacquiao's arms, shoulders, ribs. The sound echoed like steel slamming against steel. Pacquiao tried to regain control, but Matthyisse's power slowed him, pinned him, pressed him. The machine was taking over. For a brief moment, it felt like the story was shifting, like the legend was beginning to crack under the weight of Matthyisse's assault. The commentators' voices rose in panic. The crowd leaned forward. Something dangerous was unfolding. But then, Pacquiao smiled. It was small, quick, but unmistakable. The smile of a man who had found what he was looking. Matthysse threw another cannon-like hook, but this time, Pacquiao didn't slip it. He stepped into it. He countered. A lightning-fast left hand crashed against Matthyse's jaw, snapping his head back. The crowd erupted. Pacquiao exploded in a flurry, fists blurring, feet gliding, angles shifting. Matthysse covered up, forced backward for the first time. It felt like Pacquiao had hit a switch deep within himself that reactivated the fire of his youth. He wasn't just fighting anymore, he was hunting. But Matthysse didn't break. He growled through the punches, firing back viciously, refusing to give Pacquiao an inch. Their clash in the center of the ring felt apocalyptic. Speed versus power, precision versus brutality. As the bell ended the round, both men glared at each other with a dangerous promise. The war was far from over, and only one would walk out untouched. Round 3 began with an energy that felt different, almost supernatural. Pacquiao came out lighter, sharper, he had looked in years. Matthysse, frustrated, yet determined, tightened his guard. He had tasted Pacquiao's speed. Now he wanted to erase it. Pacquiao darted left, then right, changing levels, angles, and rhythms. His movements were unpredictable, like a man who had found every version of himself and blended them into something renewed. His footwork cut through the ring like blades slicing across water. Matthysse swung with violent intent. His punches were meant not to score points, but to destroy. But Pacquiao slicked each blow by millimeters, dancing around danger with a confidence that shook Matthysse composure. Then it happened. Pacquiao launched a left uppercut from a blind angle, one Matthysse never saw coming. It slammed into his chin like a hammer hitting stone. Matthysse stumbled backward, eyes widening as shock rippled through him. The crowd erupted into chaos. Pacquiao pressed forward, throwing combinations that sounded like firecrackers exploding in the night. Matthysse tried to respond, but Pacquiao's speed overwhelmed him. Punches came from every direction. Hooks, straights, uppercuts, each one pinpoint accurate. Matthysse dropped to one knee. The arena detonated. It wasn't a knockout blow, but it was a message from a legend reminding the world that he wasn't done. Not yet. Not ever. Matthysse rose, furious, shaking the cobwebs from his head. He charged forward like a bull, unleashing a barrage of monstrous hooks. Pacquiao absorbed some, dodged others, but stood his ground. The ring pulsed with danger. And then Pacquiao unleashed another devastating left hand. Matthysse froze, then fell again. The referee counted. The crowd screamed. Matthysse looked stunned, broken even, his confidence fracturing. Pacquiao, breathing steady, stood still like a warrior reborn from fire. The bell saved Matthysse, but as he walked to his corner, his legs betrayed him. His trainer's face turned pale. They all knew what double, a round that would echo through boxing history. Matthysse sat in his corner between rounds, staring into nothing, eyes glassy, breathing heavy, spirit cracking. His corner shouted in panic, urging him forward, begging him to survive. But deep down, he knew. Manny Pacquiao had turned into something unstoppable. When the bell rang, Pacquiao didn't rush. He stalked, slowly, calmly, like a lion approaching a wounded beast that still had teeth. Matthysse tried to re-establish his rhythm, but nothing worked. His punches missed. His timing failed. His legs trembled beneath him. Pacquiao, in complete control, circled him with a confidence carved from decades of war. Then Pacquiao struck. A feint to the right, Matthysse bit. A shift to the left, Matthysse froze. And then Pacquiao launched the punch that would end the night. A perfectly placed left uppercut detonated on Matthyse's chin. His body collapsed. His gloves hit the canvas. His head dropped, defeated. The crowd erupted in a storm of sound. Matthysse tried to rise, his pride refusing to die, but his body betrayed him. His legs wobbled, his arms shook, and the referee stepped in. It was over. Manny Pacquiao had returned, not just as a fighter, not just as a champion, but as a force of nature, a legend reborn, a man who reminded the world that heart beats harder than power, that speed slices through strength, and that greatness never truly fades. As Pacquiao raised his gloves, Matthysse looked across the ring with exhaustion and respect. He had been beaten not by age, not by hype, but by a man who carried lightning in his fists and fire in his soul. The arena shook with the sound of victory, a knockout, a rebirth, a moment etched forever in boxing history.